schedule because we were locked out of the building. But I will call this meeting to order. Well, the chair notes there is a quorum present, and we'll do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me, I'm allergies.
So we need to wait just about 30 seconds to start the public hearing. Actually, it's 10:05, so we can start. This is the time duly set and advertised for a public hearing in the matter of the Gilliam County Weed Control Special Assessment for fiscal year 2020-2021. The rate for the 2020-2021 year has been proposed at 7 cents per acre. Hearings are conducted in accordance with ORS 569.175 through 569.620. This hearing is for the purpose of gathering evidence as to the need for, identifying who will benefit from, and to take public input on the weed special assessment rate. This is a legislative hearing. All those in attendance that wish to testify are asked to sign the attendance sheet. The hearing is now open. And we'll just start quickly with a staff report from the weed master.
A staff report, really? Oh, okay.
You want to just update on
what I'm doing?
What you're doing.
Yeah. Okay, we've almost finished all the state highways except the freeway with our roadside sprayer. Also, 2/3 of Gilliam County roads are finished with the sprayer. That's mostly what we do this time of year. I'm starting to do some regulatory weeds for some of the landowners. In general, this time of year, it's going to be like yellow star thistle in the Arlington area. There's some skeleton weed that's popping up already. Knapweed's already up. And then at our end of the county, at the Condon end, we're already getting some growth in 30 Mile from larger plants like Scott's thistle, Canadian thistle, those kind of things. And pretty much we're trying to keep on top of it. This year may be a little better just because last year we had tremendous rainfall. We were flooding everything this time of year last year. So hopefully we'll stay on top of things a little better this year than we did last year. Also, there was, we're changing the way we're doing our BLM. They want to have 3-year contracts with us, and there'll be federal contracts. It will be a 3-year cycle at $50,000 a year.
any questions for our meeting? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to provide testimony?
I don't like weeds.
Okay.
Thank you for your help with the industrial park.
We will finish that up soon.
So folks understand what we're going to do next is we will recess this hearing and continue it during the next scheduled meeting, probably April 1st, unless something changes in content. So the hearing is hereby recessed. This hearing will be continued to April 1st at 10:05 a.m. at the Gilliam County Courthouse in Condon, Oregon. That is, of course, pending any sort of late-breaking conditions on the ground related to the COVID-19 pandemic and responses that we need to put in place for social distancing.
I think I'll hang out in the parking lot for a little while to see if the landowners do show up.
Okay.
But,
Thank you.
And then you guys can have more space.
Perfect. Perfect. That'll get us back down to 10.
Right.
See you later.
Thanks. And then for folks watching at home, this is just a reminder that if you, in order to participate or provide testimony, if you want to do that and are respecting social distancing guidelines, that we are happy to take that testimony electronically, and so we will be providing more information on the website about how to submit that testimony so that folks who would like to do that but don't necessarily want to come to a public meeting can do so. So, okay, additions and revisions to the agenda. Anything? Okay. Correspondence and public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Are there any public comments? Gary?
Yes, if I may. The coronavirus is being taken seriously by most, but obviously in our county we have some that are not taking it seriously, and I just encourage the public to take it seriously. It is extremely serious. It needs to be taken seriously. We have had at least one business owner that I've had discussions with. They changed their practices after our discussion, and also a group that was planning a party that decided after our discussions yesterday to cancel. As well as we know there's been some funerals canceled. So people are taking it seriously, and I know that the county's taking it seriously, and at least the city of Condon. I'm down here today to talk to the city of Arlington and see kind of what measures are being taken here by the city, but I am very active in encouraging people to follow the protocols, and everybody must do their part. So, thank you.
Any other public comment? Dave?
I would just like to kind of echo what the sheriff said. Being the representative of the health district, it is very serious. And being right on the freeway, it's very easy to have some sort of exposure. Living in Arlington, I've had some discussions with the mayor and the city recorder, and up until yesterday, I don't think it was taken quite as seriously. I think it's more serious now. And so I'm sure if you have any official questions, I can say other stuff, but I just want to reiterate how important it is, the social distancing. If we don't stop it as, the spread, it's going to get everywhere. And, if there are older people, there are people that are compromised that might not make it through that kind of event. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we have a couple of correspondence that I'll just go through really quick. We received a thank you letter from Jennifer Callitz, I think. She's the Communications Director of the Oregon Department of Energy. Just says, Judge Farrar, a big thank you to you and your colleagues for inviting ODOE to the town hall meeting last week. It really helped to connect with the community, and I enjoyed visiting Condon for the first time. Sincerely, Jenny. That was for the town halls that we did for the Kim Waste situation. We also received an email from Sandy McKay regarding the budget committee meetings, and I think I'll just summarize it in the interest of time, but it will be made part of the record for folks who want to read the whole thing. Basically just asking that the budget committee meetings be video recorded and posted to the county website in the same manner as the county court meetings are. So this is something the budget committee would need to decide on, and so I think it would be prudent to raise that again with them.
My memory is that they already decided last year that they were going to do that.
So I think we'll talk to him about it again and make sure, but for the record, it's on the record. So
I know we encouraged it, we weren't prepared to do it.
exactly. So with that, let's go into consent agenda. So in the interest of expediting the meeting, people will notice we had several revised agendas come out. I tried to move as much as I could into the consent agenda so that we could dispense with them quickly and get folks back outside and back to social distancing. So
I was not present for a special or the executive meeting, so those minutes on something. I was not present for the special meeting, executive session on the 11th. So I would like to. I will motion to I move to approve the consent agenda. I Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda consisting of consider approval of March 4th regular meeting minutes, consider approval of March 4th work session minutes, consider approval of March 11th special meeting minutes, consider approval of March 11th executive session minutes, consider reappointment of Daniel Perry to the Gilliam County Fair Board, consider approval of intergovernmental agreement regarding McCog Building Codes reserves disbursement, consider approval of memorandum of agreement with the Arlington Health Center, and consider approval of memorandum of agreement with the Condon Food Pantry. Is there further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business. Award the bid for purchase of a Gilliam County transportation vehicle. So this was a vehicle that we had previously authorized the purchase of. This is part of Marla's STIF agreements. The vehicle that we would be purchasing is an all-wheel drive and would be for the new designated route that Marla briefed us about when she did her staff briefing here 2 meetings ago. Be all-wheel drive to provide service in all weather and road conditions. The reason I left it on the agenda is per the state's contract with us, we have to have that purchase in place by June 30th. So I wanted to give her time to go through all the paperwork that she needs to do. Marla sent out 3 requests for bids based on ours and ODOT's procurement policies. You can see the bids that came back. ODOT has authorized us to award it actually to the higher bid, and that is because the higher price vehicle had all of the equipment and options already built into the price. So they have approved that. If we have approved that, it would require some matching funds of $27,279, which would come out of transportation's other grant pools. So, any questions about that?
No, I don't have any. I move to award the bid for purchase of a new transportation vehicle to Shepke Bus Sales in the amount of $85,604 as per the bid dated February 7th, 2020. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we award the bid for purchase of a new transportation vehicle to Shepke Bus Sales in the amount of $85,604 as per the bid dated February 7th, 2020. So further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are moving right along. We are into 7.1, consider approval of resolution R 2020-08, a resolution declaring a state of emergency in Gilliam County. So you have the emergency declaration. We sent it out yesterday afternoon. Apologies for the delay in that. But basically, and I got questions about this from the public, so I think it might be helpful to kind of let folks know why we're considering this and what this essentially does, so that folks have the right amount of urgency in response to this. Basically what the emergency declaration does for us, that because the governor has already declared a state of emergency statewide, there's potential for emergency funds from FEMA to come in to help support local efforts to respond to the pandemic. And so by declaring this, what it in essence does is it allows us to start tracking those expenses for potential FEMA reimbursement. It also creates some administrative or reduces some administrative sort of hurdles to do things such as emergency procurements. It allows me basically to make those calls, as I'm hearing from Chris Fitz and other folks in our community about needs that are emergencies, basically. And a few other things that I'm not anticipating at this point we'll need, but some measures that Incident Command could take, for instance, curfews, rationing goods and services, other things like that, that should this continue to escalate, would give us some authority locally to institute some additional restrictions. And those, of course, will be guided based on what we're hearing from our health care providers, particularly public health, in terms of things we need to do to enforce social distancing measures in the county. So that's kind of the summary. The big parts of that really though are to unlock the federal funds and then also to clear some of the administrative hurdles that we need to be able to waive certain deadlines, to do emergency procurements, those sorts of things. Any questions about that?
Be proactive.
We are being proactive. Most of the counties, I think, in the state at this point have passed emergency declarations. So this brings us in line with what most of the state is doing.
I move to adopt resolution number R 2020-08, a resolution declaring a state of emergency in Gilliam County as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution R 2020-08, a resolution declaring a state of emergency in Gilliam County as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to announcements and our next meeting. So I just want to let the public know and put this on the record, some of the things that the county is doing to help support social distancing. So here's some announcements. Effective at noon on Wednesday, March 18th, all Gilliam County buildings will be closed to the public. Members of the public who need access to essential county services can be made via appointment with the department responsible for providing those services. So in this case, what we're defining as essential services are basically emergency management functions in response to COVID-19. And then secondly, services that we are legally required by local, state, or federal law to provide that are time sensitive and that cannot otherwise be provided via phone or email communications. So that will go into effect today at noon. We will have notices on the doors. The doors will officially lock then. Chris Fitz will be putting out an alert on the emergency alert system. And we're working with the Times Journal to make sure that folks are kept aware, go out on social media, basically every function, every communication channel that we have available, we're trying to push that information out. The Gilliam County Justice Court office in Arlington will remain open to the public at this time, but Judge Patno has implemented additional protocols basically to discourage members of the public from making unnecessary visits into court. So there's certain court cases that she likely will need to hear and follow through with, but in terms of people paying tickets, things like that, she's instituted some leeway for scheduling to allow folks to respect social distancing guidelines right now. So those details can be found on the website. So if you're curious, if you have a ticket and you're wondering about that, please go to the website. It's clear on there, or call the Justice Court. Please don't go to their office. Gilliam County Library Services. The Gilliam County Public Library was closed to the public on Tuesday morning. Patrons can continue to reserve their books online through the Sage Library system or by calling the library directly. Books will be provided through curbside pickup services, and they can be returned through the outside book drop. So if folks have questions about that, you can contact the library directly to reserve books and to schedule your curbside pickup. The Gilliam County meal sites in Arlington and Condon were closed to the public on Monday afternoon. Meals are being provided through home delivery services. We're requesting that folks who want to have a meal delivered basically are calling by noon the day before your normal delivery site. So in Arlington, the meal site would have normally been open on Tuesdays, and so we'd ask people to call by noon on Monday, and then meals will be delivered on Tuesday. In Condon, that time frame is to request by Wednesday at noon, meals to be delivered on Thursday. So we will be using transportation resources to deliver those and have advised personnel, our own staff, to be mindful about leaving that at the doorstep, not going and potentially contaminating themselves if we have sick folks that we're delivering to. Gilliam County Transportation Services. The Transportation Department is limiting service to essential medical transportation only, where rides are being scheduled on a case-by-case basis. This will be based on availability of drivers, guidance from public health officials, and other risk factors that we'll take into account, including known cases as they start being reported. I think the more that they are reported, the more that those services will diminish. Because we, particularly if we see a lot of cases popping up in Wasco County, don't necessarily want to be taking our vulnerable populations into a place where there are no cases. So we're asking folks just to contact the dispatch as normal. They will be running through sort of a risk assessment before confirming trips. And Marla's meeting regularly with Lisa and I to kind of triage who should go and who should not at this point. So we'll be evaluating those service levels daily, and we'll keep the public informed about any changes on service levels. Also, just for folks' edification at home, wanted to let people know that the county officially has told employees that all non-essential business travel is now prohibited. We will be canceling all non-essential in-person meetings or asking folks to switch to teleconference or video conference. Again, this is in response to guidelines that we're receiving from public health for social distancing. We are working right now on facilitating telecommuting options for our employees where practical. So employees have been instructed to take home their laptops and services every evening. This is in case we have a confirmed case within the courthouse and need to shut the building and have folks self-quarantine so that we don't have people trying to come back into the building if we need to shut it down. So Kelly and Lisa have been working on sort of ramping up those capabilities by purchasing more laptops and getting some access, some VPN access to files and things that we haven't traditionally allowed, but that we are allowing now in this situation. So we'll have more on that as we sort of, basically Kelly and Lisa are sort of triaging based on need and whose duties best fit with telecommuting options right now. And of course, the standard stuff that we've been telling folks is that if you are experiencing a cough, a fever, or shortness of breath, or anyone in your household is experiencing those, we are saying, please stay home. Take this seriously. I think that's it right now. Any questions?
Good communication, thank you.
Thanks. Gary.
Yeah, I think we need to think about this long-term too. And we need to keep in mind, and I think support in any way we can, the businesses that are going to take hard economic hits, the employees that are going to be out of work, and then whether that's due to their kids being home because there's no school or daycare is still open. I don't know how long that'll last, but I think we need to now consider how we are going to deal with our economic blow later on, which is going to be nationwide. But keep that in mind. And I also think it would behoove the county and cities to maybe have a leadership meeting once a week to kind of see how things are going, at least some of the service directors and things like that, just to see, because there's a lot of things that, like the sheriff's office, for instance, can throw in to assist in, say, transportation or, I don't know what, but I'm sure there's places we can assist. So maybe a weekly meeting of.
I think that's great. Pat?
Yeah, just from my situation being a businessman, I'm looking into the future and what we want Gilliam County to look like down the road. Maybe something the court wants to consider. I'm right now not sure what I'm going to do. We're going to meet with the employees. We're doing takeout delivery. They shut down the bars. And of course, lottery was shut off statewide yesterday at 5 o'clock. So all that stuff's gone. So the revenue that goes with it's gone. Employees are. I'm in a place where bills are not going to get paid. I've got to look real hard at how much payroll I can carry, if I can carry any. So, and I don't know what that'll look like in a month. about 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. But I'm going to start calling people, coming out and pay.
Okay.
I see the small business administration is,
The problem with the small business administration, from my standpoint, is they're offering loans, and loans will not
Right.
keep us flat.
right.
Just-
Yep.
I mean, I got plenty, I just took out a $50,000 mortgage on my house, to do some improvements to the pheasant. That was a bad time. It is what it is.
And to that end, one of the things we've been talking about internally is maybe utilizing some of the chamber resources. And so I wanted to kind of see what you guys would think. What we need to start doing is sort of collecting those anecdotal stories to make the case for why we need additional supports coming in from the federal government. But then also assisting for business owners who maybe a loan does make sense. I understand it doesn't maybe for you in this case, Pat, but for others maybe they have a little bit more leeway if they could get some assistance, making sure that we're providing adequate resources. And so I wanted to see what you guys would think about us potentially approaching Caitlin about maybe through a contract service with the chamber, providing some additional support and resources to our local businesses. And even she's been doing fantastic work getting information out to the community about closures and things like that. And so trying to support the extra time that she will likely need to put in order to be able to support communication with our community about what's happening.
Yeah, I would like to say I spent a lot of time via email with Caitlin yesterday, and she's putting up an emergency website, trying to get last night, she worked at 1 o'clock in the morning, for me, and let the freeway traffic and people know we've got some delivery and take out, and there is some interest in that coming into town. They pull up to the window at the deli and say, you do carry out, so that might help keep a few employees, in
Okay.
doors kind of open, so she's been a great help with that.
Okay, that's good feedback. Dave, did you have more?
Oh, I was gonna do it at the beginning and then I was second guessing. But being Gilliam County, probably everyone knows what I'm going to say here. So yesterday we had a presumptive positive at our clinic. And so whether ends up being positive or negative, we can't find out right now. But regardless, it's here. And so I just wanted to reiterate how important it is, how important social distancing is. The clinic is taking steps to keep our people safe and the public as well as the ambulance. And you all approved the resolution, and I just want to drive it home that this is a real thing, whether we want it to be or not. The city council here in Arlington didn't seem to buy into it last Wednesday. They are now. And it's here, potentially. And did you want me to talk about the health department so it's on the record? Just a little?
You feel free to.
Okay, I just I didn't know if you had talked. Anyway, so we had some difficulty with the health department, and it's not just our health department, but they aren't as responsive as they could be. And I don't know if that's a staffing thing or it's we don't want to answer the phone because we don't have the right answer thing. But we are having some real difficulty getting information back and forth. One of the things is testing, which I know everyone is concerned about. Federal governments say one thing, but in reality, filtering it down to the people is a little difficult. Our problem here in Oregon is we have one testing site, and it's in Hillsboro. If somebody needs to be tested, there has to be a courier that brings it to Hillsboro. 48 hours later, or 56, we get an answer back, or whoever gets an answer back, and then we know what to do. Oregon has put an additional limitation on it, I'm not sure at what level, that the person that is tested has to be sick enough to go into the hospital. That's not the CDC statement, that is Oregon. And it might be several states, but I don't care about that. So when we have somebody test, or when we have somebody that our provider feels they need to be tested, or it's important, we can't test them. They have to be negative for the flu, which we can do a rapid flu test right there. They have to have lower respiratory problems, lower respiratory infection, coughing, difficulty breathing, and this is the kicker, they have to be sick enough to go to the hospital. So if they're sick enough to go in the hospital, why the heck are they at my clinic? Why are they not at the hospital? We send them to the hospital, and the hospital sends them home saying, we can't test you either. So the health department and the news will say, oh, go to the hospital, go. That's not the way it works. There are private labs that we're going to start testing. Interpath is the lab we use. And they sent out emails, by golly, we're geared up. We had some swabs in-house because they're the generic viral swabs. We swabbed this person. We called Interpath. We want to get how we're going to transport, right? Well, we stopped doing it. We did it for 3 hours and ran out of testing, whatever. And so this has to be fixed. And I spoke with the judge yesterday, and she made some calls regarding that. We've talked to the health department, and they suggested we call the governor. So I'm going to pick my cell phone up and call Kate tomorrow for 2 days. I didn't have her number, so I called the judge. But that's an unacceptable answer, and that was an off-the-record comment by him. And I tell you that because their regular answer, even they realize is unacceptable. And so I just wanted to make you aware and kind of clarify that. The person that was exposed, without going into any detail, they are someone that very well could have had contact with all the students in town, everybody in every one of the stores. They've been out of town shopping recently, and we sent them home for 2 weeks. And are they going to stay at home? I don't know. People need to eat. The thing is, if we could have tested him, in 48 hours, we'd be able to let him go. One person walks into the clinic while one of my EMTs is there, you have no health care in the North County. And the same is true down there because you have people who work on the ambulance also working on the clinic. I'm glad you put the resolution in place because that's going to help. But I just want you guys to know the gravity of the situation or the potential gravity.
And to that, because Dave did reach out to me yesterday afternoon, and so I called the governor's office as soon as I hung up the phone with you, basically, and have messages into the health policy person on the governor's staff. And my intention when I'm back in Condon later this morning is to call our legislators. I understand that they're having regular meetings directly with the governor, and so I'm going to try to escalate this particular case and see if we can get at least an exception immediately, but a long-term look at their testing protocols for obvious reasons. So we're on it, and hopefully we'll have some movement from the governor's office, or at least some guidance on when we can expect changes in testing protocols shortly. I'm going to try to escalate.
Judge, and how are those meetings can you find out, because I got OSSA, Raising Sheriff's Association, legal counsel checking into this, but what we can do about people that are, could potentially be exposed, positive, but exposing others.
Right.
And refusing to quarantine.
That's good.
And so that might be a conversation you can have with legislators too.
Okay.
Just to see, I mean, we can't violate people's constitutional rights nor do I want to, but we also need to keep the public safe, so.
And there are still people out there it's a cold, it's the flu. I'm not worried about getting it, I'm young. I don't care about you. I care about people that are older or who are compromised. And I think this action, and I'm not sure what action Condon has taken, I'm sure it's more than here, that if the government is part of the local government, people they see every day, people will start taking it serious because they aren't.
Yeah.
And so, thank you, I applaud that, and that should help a lot.
Hopefully, yeah. So some related things that I want to make sure that we put on the record is that we were originally scheduled for a budget hearing on April 1st. That has been canceled. We are looking at pushing those probably into May. I don't have firm dates yet. One of the issues that we are getting guidance from the state on is how to conduct public meetings with social distancing guidance. So obviously for budget hearings and things like that, we want to provide an ability for the public to weigh in. And so we're needing to figure out how to do remote kind of options and things like that, and what legally we can and can't do to try to protect the public and still be open and transparent about our government processes. So we also are tentatively scheduled to meet on April 1st. I will keep that on the agenda because we have the weed control assessment that's already been noticed, but we may be issuing additional guidance on how people can participate. If we need to move locations, we may be doing that to keep folks out of the courthouse so we're not potentially bringing people in and infecting employees. So I just wanted to kind of stick a pin in that's sort of the next phase that we're working on, is how to conduct our public meetings and providing guidance for Planning Commission and other public entities that had meetings scheduled. So with the Waste Management CUP, the Planning Commission was scheduled for next week to do a work session. We have advised them to go ahead and cancel that until we have better guidance from the state on what protocols we need to follow. Any other questions, things that we're not doing, public comments?
So they had I believe a June 30th deadline, so are we going to relax that, or are we just going to see where we are as we go forward? And
That would be my recommendation to the court, is that we'd be a little bit flexible to allow that time. The work is definitely, they had one initial meeting, and so this is sort of the second follow-up, and then I think they were going to go right into their actual hearings on stuff. So they're not, their staff is making, I would say, good progress on getting those conditions written. It's just a matter of the public safety in terms of holding those public meetings that's really holding this up. So I would ask for us to give them a little bit of leeway depending on how things unfold.
I'm sorry, on that matter, yesterday's special districts, based on the Oregon laws, they put out a really good email with all kinds of suggestions and websites, and I'm sure Oregon will have the same one, but that's out there to peruse if you want to. I think it's open on their website.
Right.
So.
We'll be, like I said, pushing out more updates. You know, if we end up having to do more closures or, you know, quarantining our employees, things like that, we'll let folks know and keep people apprised. You can go to Gilliam County's website. All of these closures will be up there and regularly updated. And then we'll be using emergency alerts as we need to, and other tools that we have at our disposal. So the Sheriff's Web, the Facebook page is another place you can go to see some of those pieces of information. We're doing everything we can, is what I want the public to know. We are taking this seriously. We're trying to put these steps in place. Please also take it seriously. This is a partnership and we all have to work together. Okay. With that, I will adjourn the meeting. It's 10:42.